Hey YouTube, Twig here, bringing you all my Vanquish Soul Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile for June 2023. This is the third and final deck from the Wild Survivors booster set, and definitely one of the most difficult decks to build from the set since we have a total of 7 ultra rares to pull for this deck alone. I don't know if they've ever done a ratio like this before, where you have 7 ultra rares for one deck, 2 for one, and then 1 for the other. It's just completely one-sided when it comes to building the decks. Always have they had them lined up with like 3 ultras, and then maybe 4 for one. But this was just crazy, and it took a lot of gathering to get the good majority of the cards for the deck. But still, it's a pretty awesome deck. People do have some high hopes for it in the upcoming meta as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for the actual Vanquish Soul monsters, we're running 3 copies of Vanquish Soul Raisin. With this card is normal or special summon, you can add 1 non-warrior Vanquish Soul monster from your deck to your hand. Quick effect, you can activate one of these effects by revealing 1 monsters in your hand with the listed attributes. If it's fire, this card cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects this turn. If it's fire and dark, destroy all monsters in this card's column. And you can only use each effect of Vanquish Soul Raisin once per turn, and it cannot activate more than 1 in the same chain. So you have a really good amount of setup with this card, whether it be searching out cards or just being able to destroy your opponent's cards or protect your Raisin itself with all of that setup. Depending on what you add to your hand, you have a good variety of other different Vanquish Soul monsters to utilize. One of the other ones being our Vanquish Soul Dr. Madlove. We're also running 3 copies of this card as well. With this card, if it's normal or special summon, you can add 1 Vanquish Soul Spell or Trap from your deck to your hand. Quick effect, you can activate one of these effects by revealing a monster in your hand with the listed attributes. If it's dark, 1 face-up monster your opponent controls loses 500 attack and defense. If it's dark and earth, return the 1 monster with the lowest defense on the field to the hand. Your choice if tied. You can use each of the effects of Dr. Madlove once per turn and cannot activate more than 1 in the same chain. So very similar to our Soul Raisin, just being able to get a return effect and also an attack lowering effect depending on if we reveal just a dark attribute. Otherwise, we have the additional earth attribute play with our other 3 of that we're running in the deck, which is our Vanquish Soul Pantera. With this card, if you control no monsters in your main monster zone, you can special summon this card from your hand. Quick effect, you can activate one of these effects by revealing monsters in your hand with the listed attributes. If it's earth, this card cannot be destroyed by battle this turn, or also this card with earth and fire, destroy all spell traps in this card's column. So very similar to Raisin as well. They all share the different attribute lineups. Since your Pantera is an earth attribute, your Dr. Madlove is a dark attribute, and your Vanquish Soul Raisin is a fire attribute. They all work, so you have the others set up in your hand to reveal for your other monster you have on the field, depending on what you have, getting those additional attributes for all of them lined up together, and being able to clear out your main monster zone for your Pantera special summon with summoning out the Rock of the Vanquisher, just needing 1 Vanquish Soul monster to summon out this Link 1 monster onto the field, which we'll go over when we get to the extra deck. And for some of the lower numbers for the other Vanquish Soul monsters, we also run the 2 copies of Vanquish Soul Heavy Borgar. With this card, during the main phase, quick effect, you can target 1 non-machine Vanquish Soul monster you control, return it to the hand. If you do, special summon this card from your hand. And quick effect, you can activate one of these effects by revealing monsters in your hand with the listed attributes. If it's dark, you draw 1 card. If it's earth and fire, inflict 500 points of damage, 1,500 points, my mistake there, of damage to your opponent. So that heavy damage that this card can provide as well, and having the same play as before, being only to use each effect of Heavy Burger once per turn, and you cannot activate more than 1 in the same chain. So with the earth and fire, you have the Dr. Madlove draw power, and then using the Pantera and Raisin for the additional burn damage depending on the lineup you have, and also just being able to target 1 non-machine Vanquish Soul. Since your Raisin is a warrior, Pantera is beast warrior, and your Dr. Madlove is fiend for those plays, and just revealing the other non-machine so you can't bounce back a heavy burger to your hand for you to use for this play. And also we're running 2 copies of Vanquish Soul Caesar Valius. During the main phase quick effect, you can target 1 non-dragon Vanquish Soul monster you control. Return it to the hand. If you do, special summon this card from your hand. Quick effect, you can activate 1 of these effects by revealing monsters in your hand with the listed attributes. Earth, this face-up card is unaffected by your opponent's activate effects this turn. If it's Earth, Fire, and Dark, destroy 1 other card on the field. So just having the same plays as we did before with Dark, Fire, and Earth for the revealed cards. They all work very, very well together as long as you have the other cards in your hand to utilize for the monsters on the field. And then the same play with the same effect in the same chain for this card also. For the only one of that we run for the Vanquish Soul monsters, 1 copy of Vanquish Soul Pluton HG. During your opponent's turn, if you control no monsters or only Vanquish Soul monsters in your main monster zone, quick effect, you can special summon this card from your hand, and you can activate 1 of these effects by revealing monsters in your hand with the listed attributes. Fire, this card gains 3,000 defense until end of turn. Dark and Earth, this card gains 3,000 attack until end of this turn. And you can only use each effect of Pluton HG once per turn, and you cannot activate the same effects in the same chain. So then with this play, you have a defensive or an offensive play to use against your opponent, depending on how you special summon this card out onto the field as well. It's really just a one of. It's pretty situational when you'll use this card, but still good to have for that option, and also an additional fire attribute also. And then for the only other monsters we run in the main deck, 3 copies of Ash Blossom and 3 copies of Nibiru. Just hand traps of choice for the current meta setup, just stopping our opponent's searches, and too many summons they may try to use on the field also. Moving on now to the spells. Now, I've been mixing around what I may want to use for the search spell lineup for our first couple spells. I have 3 copies of Small World and 1 of the Stake Your Soul spells. You can mix around the numbers you may want to try with these cards in the deck. Small World, just being able to reveal 1 monster with the same attribute, type, and level, and then adding, it's just a search power to get out a good majority of the other different monsters we run in the deck for our Vanquish Soul lineup. And with Stake Your Soul, you reveal 1 monster in your hand, special summon 1 Vanquish Soul monster with the same attribute but different name from your deck, but return it to the hand during the end phase. You can activate 1 Stake Your Soul per turn, but returning them to the hand just gives you more of that setup we spoke of before for you to use for the reveal in your hand for your other different Vanquish Soul monsters. We're also running 2 copies of Vanquish Soul Continue. With this card, you pay 500 life points, then target 1 Vanquish Soul monster in your graveyard, either add to your hand or special summon it in defense. You will activate 1 Vanquish Soul Continue per turn, but the defense play at least sets up another monster for you to have on the field and then make use of, depending on what other Vanquish Soul monsters you may have in your hand, to reveal for the different attributes to gain that monster's additional effects on the field. With the last of the Vanquish Soul spells being 1 copy of Vanquish Soul Dust Devil. Target 1 Vanquish Soul monster you control, change its battle position, then you can change face up monsters your opponent controls to face down defense position up to the number of Vanquish Soul monsters you control with different names. You can only activate 1 Vanquish Soul Dust Devil per turn. So you have more of a control play with like a Book of Eclipse similar play to use with this card. We're only running 1 though, because you can search it out with your Vanquish Soul Dr. Madlove to your hand. So it's really all you need for this 1 card add for this play. And then for more search power, we're running the 3 copies of Fire Formation Tenki, just being able to add a level 4 lower Beast Warrior monster. So you have your Pantera Search for the special summonable monster onto the field with this card. And also the 2 copies of Pot of Prosperity. Aside from the 3 Vanquish Soul Link monsters, we have a good majority of other cards to run in the extra deck that you can use for banish costs just to get to the proper monsters you may need for this card. With our last spell being the 1 copy of Reinforcements of the Army to be able to search out our Vanquish Soul Raisin for us to use in our hand also and thin out the deck. Moving on now to the traps. I run 1 copy of Vanquish Soul Trinity Burst. Once again, this is just a one of because we can search it with Dr. Madlove. And then also, you target 1 Vanquish Soul monster you control. Special summon up to 2 Vanquish Soul monsters from your hand with different names for each other, neither of which have the same original attribute as the targeted monster, but negate their effects and then return them to the hand during the end phase. Then you can return to the hand all cards your opponent controls that are in the same column as those targeted monsters you control, and monsters special summoned by this effect. You can only activate 1 Trinity Burst per turn, but once again, once you set this card up and have your monsters ready to go on the field, you have the play Swarm needed to then just take out a bunch of other monsters your opponent may have placed on the specific columns that your other Vanquish Soul monsters are. And then I also run 3 copies of There Can Only Be One. This is probably one of the best traps in the deck just because each player can only control one of each type, which all of our different Vanquish Soul monsters are different types, so you should never have a problem with having the multiples on the field. Even our Link monster from the extra deck, Rock of the Vanquisher, is a Rock Link monster, so you can even go into this quite easily without any limitations, but still being able to stop a good amount of plays your opponent may try to use with this card also. And also 3 infinite impermanents, just going for more of the competitive lineup with this deck. So 3 more of a hand trap answer for any card effects our opponent may try to use on the field. And for the extra deck, moving on to the Link monsters, 3 copies of Rock the Vanquisher. You need 1 Vanquish Soul monster. Cannot be used as Link material while you control a Vanquish Soul monster. Your opponent's monster can only target monsters you control with the highest attack, their choice. And also during the main phase, you can activate 1 of these effects. You can special summon 1 Vanquish Soul monster from your hand, or you can add 1 Vanquish Soul monster from your graveyard to your hand, and then you can only use this effect of Rock the Vanquisher once per turn. So you have recycle power or search power, just being able to have the special summon play of the other Vanquish Soul monster you may have on your field as well. You have the play for more setup depending on the recycle power from your graveyard, but also while you have the play to target monsters you control with the highest attack, as long as you have some of your higher attack point Vanquish Soul monsters on the field, like the Pluton HG, they can't touch your Rock the Vanquisher either. And then for more of the generic links, the 1 copy of Nightmare Phoenix, 1 Nightmare Cerberus, along with the 1 Dark the Dark Charmer, 1 IP Masquerena, 1 Nightmare Unicorn, and then the 1 Apollosa and 1 Underworld Goddess for our complete link lineup in the deck. And for the Xyz monsters, since the level 4 monsters are the good majority of what we run in the main deck, that's what we stuck to with the Xyz monsters also. So 1 Exciton Knight, 1 Steel Swarm Roach, 1 Tornado Dragon, 1 Baguska, and the 1 Divine Arsenal Zeus for being able to overlay on top of these cards as well. As for some of the go-to plays, a lot of the deck just revolves around what you have for your answer and setup with your other cards, depending on if you get the Soul Search. Let's say you summon out your Vanquish Soul Raisin, which can be searched out with reinforcements in the army, and you have the play when it's normal or special summon to add 1 non-warrior Vanquish Soul monster from your deck to your hand, and then activate 1 of these effects. So with this card, you can add either the fire target, when you reveal the fire target, or you can go for the search of Vanquish Soul Pantera. So then you can go for the link play afterwards, using your Raisin on the field to go for your Rock the Vanquisher. Then with this card, having the play cannot be used as link material while you control a Vanquish Soul monster, but also with this card, during the main phase, you can activate 1 of these effects. You can add a Vanquish Soul monster from your hand, or special summon 1. You have a free no monsters in the main monster zone, so you can special summon the Pantera. You add it off of the Raisin, so you can add the Raisin from your graveyard back to your hand thanks to the Vanquisher, and then you can special summon out the Pantera onto the field as well, and then activate 1 of these effects by revealing monsters in your hand with the listed attributes. So with this play, if you have the Earth monster, you can protect your Pantera, and since your opponent can't attack into the Rock the Vanquisher either, if you have that Earth monster in your hand, you have that play. But if it's Earth and Fire, then you have the additional search for some of your other cards using your Pantera on the field also. But still, the other play comes down to what you can search for the additional monsters. All you need is that 1 additional monster play in your hand. So depending on the other Vanquish Soul, if you end up having the other Earth monster along with the Raisin or the other one in your hand, you can control where you want to place the other Vanquish Soul monsters in these specific zones, because then you'll destroy all the same cards in those columns using your Vanquish Soul monster you had set up on the field to begin with the play being just the recycle and reveal, like I just mentioned before, for the different ones you have in your hand to use. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed. Like I said, this is the last deck. I honestly didn't think I would be able to do a deck profile as quickly as I did, since it was a deck that requires a lot of cards from the higher rarity point for the Wild Survivor set, and was still missing a couple cards here and there for it. But as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.